What can we learn from observing the gazelle or deer or buck? It's a beautiful creature. When you look into its eyes, you find a stillness within them and a peace from looking at them and a beauty that resonates from them. And each one of them have a different pattern. But what can we learn from them as human beings or conscious beings? The gazelle is aware all the time for predators out there, wherever they are. So the gazelle is not unconscious in a human sense. It's aware. Yet there is a sense of peace within it. And I think that is what the human experience, or the conscious human experience, should be. One of being absolutely present and still with a 360-degree view of their thoughts and feelings. So they're not subjected to unconscious patterning. So for the gazelle, when it becomes unconscious, the equivalent of a human being in their thoughts and in their feelings and in their body, then the predator can eat them up at any point, which means it becomes life and death for the gazelle to be present. But it's not fear-driven. If you look into the eyes of a gazelle, you don't find fear, you find absolute stillness. And that would be a good description of how one should be. Absolutely still, absolutely aware, and a 360-degree view of everything that they are, their patterns, their feelings, their thoughts, so that nothing goes by unconscious. In the case of gazelle, it would be being eaten by a predator. In the case of a human, it would be their unconscious thoughts and patterns and feelings pretending to be who they are and eventually eating themselves up. That's the difference. The gazelle has the threat outside. The human being is the threat inside. The unconscious mind that can weave a story to make them believe that's who they are. So what we have to do is be above that unconscious behavior. And from that arises a sense of peace, from the still present awareness in the now. There is that peace that arises. And from that peace, joy naturally arises. So the goal is not happiness, the goal is not joy. The goal is being present, being aware, and being still. From the stillness arises this conscious presence, and its natural state is peace. And from the peace, joy can arise. When we're children, we don't have the ego mind, which means that is our state, which is, you could say, being in the moment without calling it being in the moment. But once the ego mind is born, around the ages of 7 or 8, it begins transmitting a dual identity, me and who I am, and that's the conflict. So as we age, we have to be above the child mind, because now we're aware of the ego mind that is born as well, separating us from the essential nature of who we are. So we have to unite again with the true self, which is not the ego mind. So we have to soar above the ego mind. Whereas as a child, because there's no ego mind, they are in that state of being and awareness and presence. Yet they're not aware of these terms, because these terms are just pointers to being the self united without two parts. In other words, dissolving the ego self, the false self. And it's all in all the spiritual teachings. It's the same thing. So if you want that state of joy and bliss and happiness, then it requires you to be present and aware and rise above the ego mind and the unconscious behaviors. Otherwise, you will believe them and you will destroy yourself in the process. Yet the principal awareness always remains. You suffer your mind, you suffer your thoughts, and you suffer your feelings. But that's not who you are. So rise above so that you can find joy, bliss, stillness, peace, and happiness.